Does my hair look more purple? I dyed it again. It definitely looked darker, but I think it looks more purple. I don't know, you tell me. I think it does. So, hello again. I'm gonna ignore all this. I just had a shower. So today I thought I'd do tips for beginner riders. And obviously the first one is always to get your CBT. Everyone knows that's the first step to take. But you can also get more advanced riding courses if you wanted to. You don't have to. Or just train like on your own in an empty car park. That's probably the best thing to do when you're a new rider. But it's honestly up to you. But I think training when you're a new rider is definitely a good way to go, because I see all these people and they're always like, oh, I outrode my bike, and then they can't even corner more than that. I'm like, bro, you have not mastered your bike. Because it'll be like someone on a 400 that's just skipped to within 1,000. Obviously that's more in America, but yeah, so basically just exhaust everything that you can do on that bike, and then you know you're ready to move up. So a really good thing to learn is counter steering. So I actually didn't know what this was for a really long time. Everyone kept telling me that you just turn left to go right, and I was like, the fuck do you mean? Turn left to go right? What the fuck does that mean? Until I actually went on a ride with a motorbike instructor and she explained it as we were riding, and I was like, okay, this makes so much more sense. So it's basically pushing down on the handlebar the opposite way to the way you're turning, but having your body turning into the corner, and it just works. I don't actually understand it very much. It's a really handy skill to have. So I think clutch control is a big one, especially with new riders. The best thing to do when I first got my bike to learn clutch control on it, was to just turn the bike on, sit on a flat surface and just let the clutch go in and out onto the bike. So you roll the bike back and forward on the bike until you know, like, you can tell where the bite is. Stalling is quite common when you're new, it's understandable. But yeah, the best thing to do is just literally sit on your bike on a flat surface and just let it in and out. On the bike, not on the bike, but let it in and out until you hit the bike, which you will feel it because the bike will start moving forward. Then just let go and go back. But don't let go. Pull it back in, pull the clutch back in. If you let go, the bike will go. Maybe not that dramatic. Just allow it. Also, I have just acquired, like, I've just become a part of the Muck Off affiliate program and the Amazon one. So if anyone wants a promo code, just hit me up. I got a promo code. I think a really good thing to practice as well in a car park is emergency braking, because on a bike it is a lot different to emergency braking in a car. I'm not even going to try and explain it because I don't want to get it wrong and then tell someone and then they go flying over their bike, flying over their handlebars, or I don't know, not being able to emergency brake in an emergency situation. So they teach you in the CBT anyway, but if you want to do more training, just go to a car park and do what you've been taught in the CBT, because I think that's a very, very good skill to have, because obviously bikes and needing to emergency stop is quite common because people just cut you off.
Because they're all dickheads.
So a very common tip that most bikers give is to ride defensively, because most cars won't see you, and riding defensively means that you just assume that nobody can see you. You just assume that, like, everybody's out to get you. I'm joking. Just you assume that everybody can't see you, so you ride with the assumption that they can't. So you always are on the lookout, because most people don't. Most bikers are in cars blind spots, or people in cars just don't fucking look. That's quite common. Yeah, so ride defensively. Keep a 2 to 3 second gap between you and any vehicle, any bike, especially group rides, because the amount of people I've seen that smash into the back of other bikes. I hate those huge group rides. I don't think I could ever do it because it just makes me too anxious. But yeah, avoid going into the car's blind spots if you can. But obviously if you're like lane splitting or you're just on a road and they have decided they're not going to look in their blind, like they're not going to look, then that's their fault, not yours. Just ride with the assumption that they're all going to hit you. Because if you ride like that, you're less likely to get hit. So I think, I don't know America, but in the UK it's probably quite easy to find a quieter road so you can figure out your limits, because obviously a lot of new bikers push their limits and either end up crashing or end up causing harm to them or someone else, and we obviously don't want that. So to test your limits, to understand your limits, you could try quieter roads. The only problem with the UK quieter roads is that they're usually 60 and they usually got potholes covered in them and they're fucking horrendous. But if you can find like a cul-de-sac road that aren't going to be pissed off by the exhaust, because my fucking neighbourhood hate my bike, I have to push it down all the way down the hill and then turn it on if I want to go anywhere past about 8 o'clock at night. Like, my neighbours that way are really nice, so I don't mind. But the ones all the way down the bottom of the road, it wasn't even that late. And she said I went past multiple times, and I've been going past multiple times for weeks, when I had been on holiday for a week. And I'd only gone past once on that day. And I'd been gone for a week before that. So she was full of shit, quite frankly. But not gonna rant. Yeah, so you got the country roads not in America, in the UK to practice on, but just be aware that they can be quite narrow, so there can be cars coming, or they'll be covered in potholes, or there'll be cars blasting around them because they're a 60-mile-an-hour road, even though I'm pretty sure most people don't go 60 miles an hour because those roads should not be a 60-mile-an-hour road. It's like they couldn't be bothered to put them as another speed limits. They're like, you know what, just whack a 60 on there. You can't fucking see around the corner and there's probably a car on your side of the road. But yeah, let's whack a 60 on that. The lanes are literally the size of one car. Like, there's a passing place like every 2 miles. So one person has to reverse back a mile. Or you do what some British people do and you just sit and stare at each other until the other one moves. If you're a beginner, this one's a controversial one because some people say that beginners can have bigger bikes and some people say they can't. I think when you're a beginner, you've never touched a bike, that sticking between a 125 and a 500 is the best option to go for if you're learning, because they are the most forgiving. Anything above that, maybe a 650 if it's restricted, but I would say 125 to 500 if you're learning, because they are the most manageable and you're gonna get more learning out of them. On a 600, I saw a video the other day of a guy who went around a corner in a neighbourhood at probably about 40 miles an hour and he flew into the front of someone's house. He hit their car on their driveway, moved the car, by the way, so he was flying at some distance, at some speed, and then hit their garage. So I'm gonna say don't start on a big bike because I feel like it's just never good. I also saw this other person who was on a 600 and she was trying to keep up with her husband, and he was going really fast or something, I can't remember, and she went off the road because she couldn't turn her bike to get it back on the road. She was fine, she didn't crash, she managed to get it back on the road, but I'm just saying 600's definitely not a good start bike because they are not forgiving at all. So 125 to 500. I wonder how many times I can say that. So I feel like this one's quite a known fact, but obviously again, if you're new, you might not know anything. So pre-ride checks are a big thing. So you got the TCLOCS, the tires, control, lights, oil, chassis and stands. So you check your tyres aren't bald, you check your tyres aren't square, you check your tyres aren't flat, you check there's no punctures in your tyres, because they might not be flat when you leave, but they might be a flat
after an hour of riding.
Which has happened to me before because I didn't check my tyres. So don't do that. Check your tyres before you leave. Check that all of your controls are working, so check your front brake and your back brake are good. Check your kill switch is good. Check your lights are good, your indicators are good. Check everything, because I've seen quite a few people who have, I always say this, like I've seen quite a few people. One time me and my mum were in the car and the bike was indicating to go left before, so there was a left turning, we were coming out of the left turning, so my mum assumed that he was turning left because he had his indicator on, but he wasn't. He just forgot to turn his indicator off, and I'm not even gonna judge because the amount of times I've forgotten to turn my indicator off is quite unbelievable. But you just got to be really rigid with it, because cars might pull out on you because they don't know, which isn't their fault, because if you're indicating to go left, they're going to assume you're going left, so they are going to assume they can pull out. Nothing happened, he didn't get hit. My mum managed to pull out extremely quickly and he slowed down, so he was all fine. But yeah, just be really rigid with checking that you've turned your indicators off. Lights is really important, especially if you are a long rider, if you're out all day, because if you're travelling home in the dark and no one can see you, you are at a much higher risk of getting hit, especially because most people who ride bikes wear full black with no reflective gear, and I get it, because if you've got the lights on the bike then it doesn't really matter, but you've got to check them before you leave, because if they do not work then you either know that you need to be back before it goes dark or you don't go out at all. Obviously the advice would be to not go out at all, but I know that some people aren't going to go out even if their lights aren't working. So if you are going to do that, at least be back before it gets dark, because we don't want you getting hit by a car. So oil, brake fluid, coolant, what else am I checking? Fuel. Is there anything else? I don't know. Check your brake fluid levels. You usually have a little gauge that will tell you if it's below the minimum. Check your oil, so just take it out, check it, check that you've got enough, and check that the oil looks the right colour. And check your coolant, check you got enough coolant, because you don't want your bike overheating. Again, if you're a long day rider, if you're out all day, or even if you're not out all day, if you are doing like a half-hour to an hour journey and you have no coolant, it will damage your bike. So make sure you got enough coolant. And what else was there? Fuel is an obvious one. You need to make sure you have fuel. Like with my new bike, I don't have a fuel gauge, so if I think that the fuel's getting low, I have to go fill up. My new idea is to just fill up before every ride, unless I fill up at the end of a ride, but I will be filling up before every ride, because I'm not risking it. I don't know how, I've not ridden it enough to know how long the fuel lasts. I haven't checked, and so I'm just going to fill up before every ride and hope it lasts. If it doesn't, obviously I'll fill up again. It does have a fuel light, but obviously if it gets to the fuel light level, then it means it's pretty low. So I don't want it to get that low. For the chassis, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, so please don't come at me. I'm not a mechanic, my sister is, so she'll probably see this and make fun of me if it's wrong. But just check for any damage to yours. Check that you've got all your fairings, because funnily enough I lost one and didn't realise for ages. Lost my mud guard on the front, not the main one, the one that protects the underneath so it doesn't get all in your engine. That one's gone, so that was great. Check for rust, check for dents, check for paint scratching. Doesn't really matter, that's not going to affect the quality of the bike, but if you've dropped it or anything, you just need to check that the body isn't damaged, because if it is, that will cause a lot of problems. If your handlebars are bent, that can cause a lot of problems with handling and steering. and your kickstand. So I feel like most beginners have PTSD with kickstands because sometimes you'll think they're all the way out and they're not. And you know how you realise? The bike's on the floor 2 seconds later. I hate them. I don't hate them. But yeah, there is a lot of people who when they're a beginner, they drop their bike because either they forget to put the kickstand down because they've thought they've already put it down, or they've not put it all the way down and then it just goes back up and your bike falls over. That's why you always see the people who, when they put the kickstand down, they like kick it twice to make sure it's all the way out. That's because they've dropped it before. Yep. So I feel like most of the points I'm making today are quite well known when it comes to bikes. So another one I have is obviously don't ride when you're emotional in any way. Angry, sad. Don't be overly confident though. If you're overly confident, that can cause problems too. So yeah, I watched a video on TikTok that someone made of them like representing what would happen if you rode when you were angry, and it was amazing. If I can find it, I'll put it right here. But it was really like influential. It really makes you think about the fact that you shouldn't be riding when you're angry, because it can cause you to crash because you overexert yourself because you're angry. I think that's probably sometimes when some people are in that mood, they're not caring about what happens to them, but they don't think about the fact that they could hit someone else. I've seen plenty of bikers who hit cars and absolutely obliterate the car because of the speed that they're going. And that's the thing I think you've got to think about the most, because you are going to affect someone else if you do that. You're going to affect someone else's entire family, as well as your own, as well as all your friends, all of their friends. You're going to potentially end their life. So don't ride when you're emotional. Don't, or I will find you. I'm so scary, aren't I? Oh, I think a really, really good one is to be weather aware. Every time you go out on your bike, check the weather, because I have got stuck in the rain so many times and I've come home and I've been sopping wet. Like, I can't even take the gear off because of how soaking wet I am. One time I had to stop at a friend's house because we went up the Black Mountain, if that's what it's called, and it was absolutely pouring it down, and I was 2.5 hours away from home, so I had to stay at their house with no change of clothes, and I had to hope that my gear dried, and I had work at 10 AM the next day. 2.5 hours away. My gear did not dry by the morning, and I ended up going to work and then being sent home because I was bawling my eyes out because I was so stressed. So prepare for anything. If the weather app says it's going to be bad, then either wear your weatherproof gear or take weatherproof gear with you. I have trousers that go over my gear. They're just like a thin coat type thing that go over my gear, which are really great because you can carry them with you all the time. So either do that or wear your weatherproof gear if you think there is even a tiny chance that it's going to rain and you are ages away from home. If you're going like on a 15-minute ride and you don't really care, then fair enough. But if it's over, I'd say 20 minutes, I'd make sure you have your weatherproof gear, because you will get drenched and it is fucking cold and it hurts. If you are wearing no gear on the top half, you're just wearing a top, the rain hitting your arms feels like you're being shot like 1,000,000 times. So wear your gear. Well, wear your gear always, but I mean, like, if you're wearing your summer gear on some days and it says it's going to rain, wear your rain gear or winter gear. I don't know if it's different for people. I have just gear for when it's wet, and then I have gear that I wear when it's cold. Obviously there's a bit of a difference. If it's not raining, then I just wear extra layers. If it's going to rain, then I wear my waterproof gear. I one time had to go back to uni, and it was an hour and a half away from my home, and I was supposed to go home the day before, but I didn't want to, so I stayed another night, and then it was pouring down, so I had to leave. It was already pouring down when I left the house. I had to ride for an hour and a half in the rain when I could barely see, because the roads weren't lit and it was pouring down with rain, and I just had my little 125 headlight, and I ended up getting drenched all the way through, even with a 2 long sleeve t-shirts on, no, 1 long sleeve and 1 short sleeve t-shirt on, a jumper, 2 coats, so my armoured hoodie, which is basically a coat, and then a normal coat over the top, and then my cargos and my waterproof trousers over the top of my cargos and my boots, and I was drenched all the way through on my top half. I think I was in my bottom half as well, but I couldn't tell as much. I was wearing a green hoodie so you could see the water on me. That was like probably the worst idea I've ever had in my entire life. I could have just missed a day of uni, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to travel back in the rain for an hour and a half because I have no thoughts inside my brain, clearly. So I think I might have yapped for enough today. If you have any riding tips of your own for beginners, or you want to criticise something I've said, or you just want to add on, then comment down below. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.